All right, I'm going to demonstrate a few shortcuts that I use for Adobe Audition to speed up the editing process. First thing you're going to do is go to either Alt-K or whatever that is on a Mac, Edit Keyboard Shortcuts, again, Alt-K. And you've got all the settings here. You can see R is razor and V is move. These are the two I use the most often when editing. There's a bunch of other things that you may or may not find convenient or handy to use. I want to add some in here that I use a lot. So one, I don't ever use the clear time selection with G, so I'm going to reassign that. And then also if you hold down Control or Command, it's going to switch to those settings. So let me move this up here. If you go here, you can see Control Quit, Control Close. I don't use those two either, so I'm going to reassign those. Let me just show you what we're going to do here. You can search for what you want to change. So gap. This, and I'll demonstrate these in a little bit, but it's going to ripple delete gap in the selected track. I'm just going to change that to G. So you can see that was the clear time selection. I'm okay with that. And then we're going to also change, if you type in end, we're going to go down to select. Did I miss it? Select clips to the end of the session is what I want. And I'm going to just make that E. Right now it's a marquee selection. I don't use that. I'll demonstrate these gap and select to the end. I'll show you what those are. The two export settings is export the multi-track mix down of the entire session. I like to make that Ctrl-W and make the mix down of the selected clips Ctrl-Q. You could do whichever ones you want. These are just things that I do a lot. And then the last one that I'm going to do is hardware and change the shortcut for audio hardware to Ctrl-H. Oh, Ctrl-H. There you go. And click OK. Now, let me show you what these things do. If we've got gaps here, and I want to get rid of the gaps, I can select the track and have the cursor in between two, and that's in a gap. I can click G, and that gap goes away. Okay? So that's handy if you've got a bunch of clips and you just want to delete the gaps in between. You want to push everything together really easily, just click the G. All right. The next one I did was E for end. And so if I'm in the middle here, say I've got all these edits and they're perfect. This whole thing is just how I want it. And then I go in here and I decide to remove this section right here. Say you noticed a mistake or whatever, and I'm going to delete that. Now, if I click that G button, it's just going to delete this gap and push that track, all these tracks over, but it wouldn't grab these. Plus, sometimes I want to move the whole thing. So I want to press E, and it's going to select not only this track, but anything to the right of that track, anything between that and the end. And so now you can grab all of these tracks and move them wherever you want. You can have it overlap a little bit, or maybe you just want to move everything down, but you didn't want to mess with this stuff because that's all how you want it. You could just click and select those and move them. But it's just easier for me to just press the E, and then anything from that point to the right gets selected. Export all. So we got this whole thing exactly how we want it. Everything is sounding good. It's edited. Ctrl-W is how I'm going to export that whole file. Now, if I'm in here and they say something really inspirational right here, I'm going to select that clip, and I can hit Ctrl-Q, and that's just going to export just the current selected clips only. So I didn't mean to actually save that, but so say we had these 3 clips you wanted to export. You could hit Ctrl-Q, and that'll save that as however you want to export it. So those are the big ones. Ctrl-H is because I'm using a laptop. A lot of times I'm plugging in or unplugging different things, and my audio settings change. and sometimes I'll plug in headphones and they won't work. If you hit Ctrl-H, since I set that up to go to the audio hardware, you can change your output and input to whatever you're using at the time. So that's handy for me. One other thing that I always change is if you've got two overlapping tracks, you got that cross-faded together, and you want to change where this one ends, you can't do that easily. You can't grab that because that one's below this one. So you have to go on this and right-click and bring the clip to the front, and now you could move this side. Well, now you decided you need to move this one back a little bit more, say. Then you have to right-click and bring clip to the front and move this over. There's an easier way to do it. If you go to Edit, Preferences, and go down to Multi-Track Clips, there's a little checkbox here, Bring Clips to Front when selecting them. Click that and OK. And now if you adjust this and click on this one, you can adjust that one, and it just brings to front whatever you click on, which is exactly what I want. So those are just things that help me speed up the editing process. I'll do another video to demonstrate my editing process itself and how the different scroll wheels work, and just a workflow that I've adopted that maybe you'll find helpful. So check that out in another video.